We are wrapping up our 2025 draft summary today, and then hold our beer. It's time to talk free agency.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Free Agency Tuesday to all who celebrate. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen of this day. We are, of course, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to shout out on this Free Agency Tuesday our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who hang out with us and talk Nashville Predators hockey. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio. And friends, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I am Emma Lingan, and I'm an NHL reporter and host with the Hockey News.
On yesterday's show, Emma and I talked about the first round picks for the Nashville Predators in the 2025 draft. Today, we want to talk about the remaining picks real quickly, let you know who Nashville chose, what we think of those picks. There also may be a little bit of a steal in this draft for Nashville. And then, friends, that's right. Hold our beers, hold our tums. Free agency kicks off today. We're going to talk about what could happen and just how we're all going to survive this day in general, Emma. It was such a different day last year, wasn't it? July 1st, it felt different, felt a lot different.
Full of hope and just youth and all of the things that we no longer have. But different day, different year, you know, it's still an exciting day.
It's a day. It's a day, friends. We're gonna prep you for whatever may befall the Nashville Predators today and in the days to come with free agency. Before we turn to free agency, of course, this is just such a crazy time of year. We just finished with the draft. We've got development camp happening. We've got free agency happening, but we don't want to skip over the remainder of the draft. On Monday's show, of course, we talked about our 3 first rounders. But Emma, some good picks, some interesting picks for the Nashville Predators. They had 9 total picks going in, came away with 7 actual players in the pipeline. We got into the second round. Preds had the 35th overall pick, which is very close to being a first round pick. This was a surprise pick for me. The Predators selected left shot defenseman Jacob Rombach. Here is what I can say. Jacob absolutely nailed the inches over 6 feet stat for the Nashville Predators. At 6, he's listed at 6'6", some say 6'7", 200 and some pounds. This is a very defensive defenseman. I will tell you this is actually not the player I anticipated that they would pick 35th overall. Yeah, I was, you know,
who'd you think?
I was thinking Fiddler. I mean, I had set the table. We had set the table. We had the stories written. And Fiddler, yeah, he was still there. And the Predators went with Jacob Rombach. This was interesting to me. I was like, delete again.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I thought Fiddler, you know, if he was still on the board in the second round, I figured they would take him. But
yeah, but here we are. Yeah, Rombach, known as a defensive defenseman, plays in the USHL. He played last year for the Lincoln Stars. He is headed to the University of Minnesota. He's a Minnesota boy. You know, the Nashville Predators, they got a couple Minnesota boys. I always get them mixed up, though. It's Cole Smith is Minnesota, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. For some reason, I always get him mixed up where he's from and the Minnesota boys.
Well, there's Minnesota and Michigan. I've done that
yeah.
before. Yeah. Michael McCarron is Michigan, Cole Smith, Minnesota.
And they sit next to each other. So it just, in my mind, it's not helpful.
Yeah.
We'll tackle that on another day. Look, you kind of watch some of the highlights of him. This is a player who's going to take a shot or two from the blue line now and again, but really he is known for just being a solid defenseman. Again, I really suspected, hey, we're finally going to get Blake Fiddler. I thought maybe they would take a forward like Malcolm Spence, but they took Jacob Rombach. So, and then in the second round, here is one, Emma. The story just writes itself. We knew the Nashville Predators were going to take a goaltender. They were very clear, we're going to take a goaltender. We had talked about Joshua Ravensbergen. He had already been off the board, several goaltenders off the board at this point. The Predators selected Jack Ivankovic. If I said that right, Ivankovic. Goaltender. I got to tell you, I love this pick. And I love this pick because this pick grew up loving Pekka Rinne and watches a lot of UC Saros. If Pekka Rinne and UC Saros had a goaltending baby, it would have some of the characteristics of Jack Ivankovic. This is somebody who loves to play the puck. That's very Pekka Rinne. He likes to kick off play. Very good edge work, good puck handling. Also, total gearhead, we learned. Loves gear. So it's going to be interesting to chat with him about helmets. The other thing I loved, and we got a chance to talk to him, this is a player who hates to lose. And friends, I know they're all going to say that, but it's really nice when they say the quiet part out loud. Emma, looking at this goaltending pick, kind of what is your initial impression about this selection by the Preds?
First we knew they were going to get a goaltender. I think this is a very good goaltender. I think that it's a good thing they didn't try to get a goaltender in the first round. I love that, like, there was that picture going around of him, like in the Pekka jersey when he was a kid. Pekka texted him afterwards and like welcomed him to the team. I mean, like, come on, that's amazing. We love it. No, I think that this is a good pick for an organization that is really good at developing and producing goaltenders. I think that from what I know about him, he is spoken of very highly around the hockey world. I think that this was kind of universally seen as a really solid pick for them.
Yeah. Here's a fun little story that Jack shared when we got a chance to chat with him just shortly after being selected. Talking about, playing goaltender. His father was a goaltender in the OHL. And so, of course, you wanted to know, hey, did your dad kind of push you into playing goaltender? Jack said that his dad did not want him in net. Did not want him to play goaltender. But one time his dad went out of town for a business trip. His coach looked at him and said, hey, you want to play goaltender? And he said once he played that position, that was it. He was in. He has that, just in talking to him and talking about goaltending, he just has that goalie thing, that thing that I am fascinated by, but absolutely cannot relate to. This kid wants to be the guy in net. He wants to be the last guy standing to help his team win. And kudos to you, because that is not who I am. But I agree with you. I think Nashville has a lot to offer him when you look at, you've got Pekka's going to be helping to develop him, and you've got Ben Vanderklok, Mitch Korn. He's got UC Saros, who, Jack is like 6 feet tall, so he's not considered, 6'5" Ravensbergen. But this is somebody who I think Nashville is very comfortable taking a player like this and really getting the best out of him. So I'm excited about this pick. Again, and I think this was a theme for me through the draft, not the pick I expected. That's not the goaltender I expected or anticipated maybe they would take. But, Barry Trotz just throwing the curveballs Friday and Saturday.
Again, I don't think Pekka Rinne in the 7th round or, UC Saros were necessarily the goaltenders that were expected to be picked, but here we are. So I do think that this is good. Like, again, if I'm a Predators fan, I'm not overly concerned about this selection and their goalie situation in general. I think that they've really gotten that solidified here for the foreseeable future. So, like, I think you have now bought yourself a little bit of time to be patient with this pick and, develop him. And you're not in a position where you feel rushed with this pick. So I think it's solid.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel great about this pick. And you and I had talked previously. The timing feels good. the
Yeah.
timing feels good in net. So I think that that's definitely something Predators fans can take off of their list of things to worry about. Coming up, we're going to tell you about the remaining players the Nashville Predators added to the pipeline. And then we're going to talk about the thing that you might as well worry about. Yeah, we're going to talk about free agency. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you are all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are just outside getting sunburned at the beach. If you are new to FanDuel, it's a great time to check it out. New customers right now can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit fanduel.com to get started. All right, Emma, wanted to talk through the remaining picks for the Nashville Predators. Defense. Here we have let's see, what round are we looking at? Went 122nd overall. This was an interesting scenario here. Alex Huang. He is 17 years old. So this is a younger player selected in the draft, 6 feet tall, 170 pounds. Finally, Nashville got that right shot defenseman. Everybody was so stressed about that. Remember, these are for the future. He is a Quebec native. Interesting that he was available for the Predators at this point, because this is a player who really was anticipated to go anywhere from like mid 60s to maybe low mid 90s. I think one place had him at 102. Very agile defenseman. Great puck handling, good at getting through traffic, finding shot seams from the point, good playmaking. Also, interesting connection. He has played before in international competition with Brady Martin. He plays in the Q. Last season, he had 64 games. He had 7 goals, 40 points. And in the fall, apparently he's headed to Harvard. That's what I think I read. Like, you go, Alex. Yeah, I think this is a good pick. I think probably it was a little surprising that he was available for the Predators right now. So I think they probably feel pretty good about this pick. And again, a defenseman.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, it's important to remember picks for the future. Barry Trotz is still looking at this team. And honestly, I know a lot of people will disagree with this, but I think that you have to look at this team in win now mode. With the roster that you have to try to win right now. So these draft picks, especially in the 4th round, are not being made to help this team win right now. This is about building in the future. So, I mean, like, it's good. This is good that they're building up their defensive pipeline again. Again, you have that right shot defenseman, but like, don't fall into the trap that you're like, oh, well, this is the answer to our lack of right shot defenseman, a 17-year-old? Like, no. This is not an answer to a right now question. It's for the future.
Yeah. And I think, he is going to be kind of a fun project. Again, we've talked about this. Nashville is known for developing their goaltenders and defensemen. And I think this is maybe a good opportunity for both parties to get the best out of this young player. Preds wrapped up the draft with another defenseman, a Finn. You got to have a Finn every now and again. Daniel Nieminen. I practiced saying it so many times, you all, and then we get here to record and I start to panic. This is an overage player. We just talked about a younger player. He is 19 years old. Again, Finnish player. He played in the Finnish Elite League. So while his stats may not jump off the page, this is also a 19-year-old that is playing in a league with fully grown men. Also, 6 feet tall, 187 pounds. Really, the thing to know about him is his skating is probably what caught the eye of the Nashville Predators and some of the scouts. This is somebody who can be in the mix and then turn around, skate back, and make a defensive play as needed. So I think, when you're looking at what stands out about this player, that's probably the thing that I think attracted the Predators to a player like this. So, something to keep in mind. He was selected 163rd overall, Emma. When you look at the draft in its entirety, what is the biggest surprise to you overall?
Like for the Predators or like
Yeah,
the
for the
entire
Preds.
draft? I don't know. I mean, like it's hard now after the fact because now it's like I've slept on a lot of these picks and
Digested
I'm
it.
like, okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
So, like I will say like yes, of course the initial shock value of, not picking Higgins or Martone when they were available at number 5, like that was surprising. I do think it's a little interesting, like surprising, but the more I think about it, like this is a pleasant surprise, a good surprise. That they punted 2 picks to next year. I think that that's
Mhm.
actually smart, in trades, and they didn't see, enough. This isn't an incredibly deep draft class. We've talked about that for a while, so they've now punted to next year with making some of these trades. If there's no one that you think is a slam dunk at number whatever, and you have an opportunity to trade for a pick in next year's draft, go ahead and do it.
Yep.
So, I mean, that was like, I would say not like jaw dropping, shocking, but I mean, it was a little surprising, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I think Nashville did a good job for the not yet. Now, will I say that Nashville knocked my socks off and they stole the draft and all of the other 31 teams can eat our dust? No, friends. But I do think that they made some interesting moves for the not yet portion. We talked about Brady Martin on the show yesterday. You had mentioned this in passing, and I wanted to circle back to it. He reminds me of a Ryan O'Reilly. And when you talked about building a core, I think you're looking at a player who has leadership potential. So I like that. I think that they put a lot of thought into it. I think these draft picks tell you where Barry Trotz thinks the NHL is headed, kind of the direction, the style of play that the NHL is kind of leaning towards. And I think he's trying to build a little bit towards that. Again, drafting is wizardry. We don't know. We will have to wait and see. Do you think there's anything Nashville could have done that would have made this draft like a wow, Nashville draft?
If they had somehow figured out a way to trade up higher than 5, like maybe, but that's also not realistic in the slightest. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Barry mentioned that they were trying to trade up to get into the like 12-13 range, and we're very close to having it done. And then the player they were looking for was taken off the board by another team. And this is where I think it could have been a wow. I think it would have been great. Is I wonder, and this is pure speculation. To quote Elliot Friedman, I am spitballing here, you all. I have no information whatsoever. I wonder, though, if maybe they were going after Roger McQueen.
It's been pretty much like established that that is the player that they
Yeah.
were going after, and then he got taken by Anaheim.
I think that would have been an okay kind of
Yeah.
move. But again, you can't dance alone. And once he was off the board, then things kind of went back to just, our regular draft programming. We're gonna wait and see what happens with these prospects. Again, development camp happening this week. So, an opportunity to check them out on the ice and kind of see what Nashville selected in this draft. Coming up, friends, it's that day. It's the day. It's free agency. Emma and I are going to tell you what we think Nashville might do starting today and talk through what this could look like for the Predators. Sweet baby Jesus, Emma. Just a year ago, technically, really, literally just a year ago, it was one of the biggest days, I think, in franchise history as far as making moves when they added Stamkos, Marchessault, Brady Shea. We don't have to revisit what happened since then. It's July 1st again, and we are back on the carousel. How are we feeling, Emma? And like, what do you think Barry Trotz is going to do here?
Well, here's what I will say. Again, we're not rehashing everything that happened since last July 1st, but
Rewatch the episodes and watch us age in real time.
yeah, no, we watched it. But given that, I think our expectations are now so low that it's almost a good thing. It's like keep the bar low and you're set up for, you can't be disappointed, right? And
Yes.
so I think that when it comes to the other thing that's important to point out, this year's free agency class, not even remotely close to last year's.
No.
There were very few like really like top tier names on the board to begin with, and even the like several of the ones who have already re-signed, like Sam Bennett, for example. And now, like it's really just kind of Mitch Marner and everyone else, and that's just kind of how this year was going to go. So, on one hand, I think that it's smart. I think it's a good thing if Barry Trotz kind of just, and people are going to be upset because they want to win now and blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, I think it's good if he just kind of hold on this year. Don't go out and throw a ton of money at free agents, because this is not the year to do that. So I think that's a good thing in that regard, because I understand if Predators fans are a little gun shy after last year and what happens, like, Barry, don't do it again. Honestly, he's probably not going to, just because of the sheer fact that there really aren't any high level free agent names out there for him to go get. Now, the one free agent that I would be okay with him throwing, quote, a lot of money at, and by a lot of money, I mean like $8 million, Aaron Ekblad. I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah. And I think that's the move. And I'm not saying specifically Aaron Ekblad. Now, again, I think I would sleep okay at night with that. But I think that is the position that if you're wondering what's Barry Trotz going to do, is he going to go out and try to make a move for Mitch Marner? Friends, he is not going to go out and try to make a move for Mitch Marner.
Nor should he.
Nor should he.
Quite frankly.
Thank you. But I do think he's got to find a defenseman. That is the number one priority for the Predators.
And that's another thing I will say, talking about the draft, and we were talking about the now and the not yet. Like, people are upset. The first defenseman he gets is a left shot defenseman. What are we doing, Barry? We need right shot defenseman. Okay, well, the defenseman that you're picking up in the draft is not going to help you right now.
Right.
And you're not asking him to. So that is where I think that, Barry recognizes it. He said it. This is going to be a priority this offseason, as it should be. The draft is not where that was going to happen. And so I think it's got to be free agency or it's got to be trades. And so that's where I would just kind of keep an eye on. I think that he's well aware that he needs to address that. So whether it's Ekblad or whether it's someone else, I think that is probably whatever the big move will be, and big is relative, but I think like the big move for the Predators this year, relatively speaking, is going to be related to the defense.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. I think the smart move for the Predators in free agency is to do not a ton more than that. I really think you've got to address the defense. And again, you look out on the UFA landscape, and you see a couple players and some tumbleweed. So this is not just logistically, it's not a year where you're going to make a big splash. I think where the Predators are. It's not the year to go out and sign, some sort of wicked long-term deal. The other thing is, and I know this is just a small thing and it probably isn't a big factor, but like, let's face it right now, Nashville probably does not have the best marketing campaign for come to Nashville as a free agent. Come to Nashville as a free agent and have the worst season of your career. Like, if you're a free agent, you're going to be like, I'm going to need to know what was broken and how you're going to fix it before I sign here. It's like the Hotel California. You're going to check in and you can check out, but you can never leave kind of thing. Ooh.
Yes. That's where you're going to have to be like, hey, no taxes. Hey, the
You
weather's
like country
nice.
music?
Yeah, like you're gonna have to lean into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Which, again, if you're trying to attract a player who's been playing in Florida, the no tax thing is going to probably be helpful. So
yeah, just throwing it out there. Of course, Emma and I, we're going to be following all of the action. We're going to keep you updated as if Nashville makes some moves in free agency, and keeping an eye, of course, on anything else that could happen here with the Nashville Predators. So buckle up, friends. It's the day that we loved a year ago. And it's just the day today. We don't have any.
It sure is a day.
It's a day.
Yep.
It's a day. And of course, on tomorrow's show, we will update you with whatever happens with the Nashville Predators. We're going to keep our eye on, like Emma mentioned, like Mitch Marner, what's going to go down with that and some of these other moves and how they're going to affect the league in the Central Division as well. So make sure you hop back here. And of course, we will have updates from development camp on how some of the young prospects are faring as well. Emma, before we wrap up this episode and buckle up for free agency to kick off, will you let everyone know where to find you and your work?
Yes, you can find me on social media at Emma_Lingan, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
You can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio as well. Friends, that is going to do it for this Tuesday episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Buckle up, take some Tums. Let's see what happens. We will be back here tomorrow with an all-new episode. See you then.